Rainy Day Rabbit Holes,
a uniquely Pacific Northwest podcast.
I'm Shay.
And I'm Jody.
Let's fall down the rabbit hole. Well, hi, Jody.
Hi, Shay.
How you doing today?
Good. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it is.
I've been looking forward to it all day, actually.
Have you? To
Yes.
get you through work today?
Yes, it did, actually. I was looking forward to sitting down and chit-chatting about our rabbit hole.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear what you came up with. We visited Astoria on our day one of our Rainy Day Rabbit Holes road trip. So go back and listen to episode 1 so that you can hear about our visit to Astoria and the rest of our day one road trip. But you really found Astoria fascinating because you'd never been there before. And I guess it led you down a rabbit hole, huh?
It did. It led me down a rabbit hole. Well, so Astoria was a fascinating town to me. It's very old. We found out on our road trip down there that it was the first settlement in the West Coast. Actually, what we were listening to said it was the first settlement in the United States, but
yeah, that's wrong.
That was wrong. But 1811 was when Astoria was settled. So it's the first settlement on the West Coast. That's Oregon, Washington, California. And so it's a really holds a lot of history. As we drove through the town, you saw all those historical houses everywhere.
Did you happen to find if there was any houses that were from the early 1800s that still existed there?
Yes, absolutely.
Really? Holy
yes.
cow.
Yeah. There's a lot of...
No, 200 years old is too old. There's nothing that could survive from them.
Well, you'd think in Astoria, too, because of the weather.
Right.
But no, they do. Yeah, those old Victorian homes, those huge ones, they are from early settlement.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. The fact that the Columbia reaches the ocean, the sea there. So I found that fascinating. There's just a lot of things there that capture the history, and they've also been able to maintain it. And it's just beautiful. Even in the gray, it was beautiful. And if you listened to our first episode, you heard that we stopped by the Goonies house.
We did.
And that I really wanted to go there, but I actually haven't seen the movie. Well, that has changed.
You did? You watched it?
I did. I watched it this weekend with the grandkids.
Oh, did you cringe a little bit at some of the stuff?
No, I felt it was like, because remember, Shay, I'm a little older than you. So this is taking me back to the 80s. I loved it. One of the things that I noticed was all these kids had nervous tics. Like Chunk would eat anytime he was scared, and Mikey had that inhaler, and he'd suck it every time he was freaking out. And just Dada walking around with all his gadgets on, that's totally that's armor. Yeah.
So it's been a long time since I've seen the movie. So I do remember there was some uncomfortable fat shaming of poor little
yes.
Chunk. I mean, just the nickname alone.
Chunk, yes.
And then making him do the truffle shuffle where he pulled up his shirt and had to roll his belly.
Just to get in the house because they wouldn't let him in with his friends until he did it.
And then wasn't Data an Asian American? So there was some stereotyping there, maybe some racist undertones there. I mean, it was kind of, that did seem to happen a lot in the 80s with those movies.
For sure.
I mean, look at was it 16 Candles?
Oh, yeah.
Long Duck Dong.
Oh, yeah.
My God.
Awful.
Okay. But anyways,
I know I cringe at that one now that I watch it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is awful.
I mean,
what was wrong with us?
I love the movie, but that part just, oof.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
So you did see it. So now you have a little more context for the house.
I do. I have.
Did you recognize it in the movie?
Oh, absolutely. It looks just the same. They've maintained it very well. What the grandkids noticed in the movie, though, was they said, "Do these kids live there alone?" And I'm like,
then did you have to describe what a latchkey kid is?
Yes. I said, no, honey, this is the 80s. This is when I grew up. We had parents. We just didn't see them very often.
Right.
We were either a latchkey kid, so you stayed home alone and you locked the door, or you were the kid that wasn't allowed in the house and you were out till the street lights went down and then you came in, you were running free. So there was no adults in our lives. And then it triggered a thought, like, that's what all the nervous tics are about. These kids are roaming the town and interacting in society and things are happening, but there's nobody there to say it's going to be okay or how do I do this better or any of that. So they're all just figuring it out on their own. And it took me back to my childhood.
Yeah, running around in sea caves and there's people after them and stuff, but there's not at all. Yeah, no responsible adults in sight.
Yeah. Well, and they had noticed even when they were still in the house, like the first few scenes are still in the house and they're like, do they live there by themselves with no adult? Nah, you just don't see them. But this is not a Goonies rabbit hole anyway.
This is not a Goonies podcast?
No, I did not. I mean, it started there and then I got more curious. That's how rabbit holes go. 3 things I did find from the movie, though, that I thought were interesting was the house actually swayed when they bought it, when they got it for the movie filming. And they had to do some construction on it to stabilize it. Yeah, isn't that crazy? And then they remodeled it. And recently, and I think in the last year, someone bought it for $1.6 million.
What?
Yep. It's nice inside.
Is it?
Go to Zillow, look it up. It's on there.
Does it have a view from inside? Okay.
Yep. Upstairs.
Still, $1.6 million.
Well, I think it has to do with the Goonies.
Yeah.
The person who bought it too was a super fan. So that's why it's been maintained just like it always was, like out of the movie.
Okay.
And that you can go up there and he appreciates it because he appreciates the movie so much.
Does he have an Instagram or anything, I wonder?
You know, I didn't find one of those, but I didn't look real hard.
Okay.
But
we should look for that. Yeah.
And then the interior shots were actually filmed inside. Which
really?
Is,
not a soundstage?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Even though with all that, that's actual interior footage. Now go to Zillow and compare them.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have
different.
to do that.
Yeah. And then the third interesting fact I pulled from that movie is the ending was actually reshot. They had originally planned for the ship to be buried in rubble, but decided later, months and months later, that they wanted it to mysteriously sail off into the ocean. And so they all had to come back and reshoot it. But they really liked it because they got to hang out again. But that was not intriguing enough to me as I researched this. This is where I found out about it being structurally unsound or all those tidbits I just gave you. I felt like, oh, nobody wants to hear about the Goonies. I don't even want to hear about it. So I decided to just do some Astoria digging and I still wasn't really finding anything. So then I decided to go to the Facebook page. You know how you have those neighborhood Facebook pages? Yeah. And actually the reason it triggered this thought in me is because I go there when I want to hear random weird gossip. So I thought, oh man, they must have that.
Oh, that's a good idea. So like Karen talking about like, oh my gosh, there's a suspicious man walking down the street. 100%. It was just a black man in a hoodie, but he was like literally her neighbor and she's met him 14 times.
Yes.
That was Normandy Park.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's every one of those. So I went on there, but I ended up in a different site called Facebook group Astoria, Oregon, Culture, Tales, and History.
Ooh.
And I just started looking through those postings and someone from Finland actually posted on there and he was doing a genealogical research project on his own family and was asking if anybody had any information on William Haga, who was born in 1886 and died in 1951. He was a musician and lived in Astoria, Oregon. It was related to this man. And right away, people started posting about all the Hagas they know, Haga.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And even went to high school with them. Yes,
they're
still
a big
there.
family there. Oh,
big
wow.
Family there. But he was a really famous musician. He ran orchestras. He was the director, things like that.
Okay.
Still not my rabbit hole. I was still searching through like all the postings of people answering him. He got a couple dozen, maybe 3 dozen responses of people who knew something or at least where to lead him. And then one person posted an old newspaper article or a page. It's a whole page because the article was actually about the history of music in Astoria. So there was right next to that article about musical history in Astoria, or actually it was the Lower Columbia, and it's a rich history. But right next to that was an article about the first female mayor elected in the United States of America. And so I was instantly intrigued by that and went and looked it up. And Clara Munson is listed there in the article. However, she was not the first female mayor in America to be elected. She was the first female mayor to take office west of the Rockies. Okay. So still pretty impressive.
Yeah, because I don't think that women were federally given the right to even vote until 1919 or 1920.
Correct.
So this was 1913?
She was elected in 1912 and took office in 1913. So she was ahead of the game, but Oregon was ahead of the game. The suffrage movement had already happened there. They'd been working there for a while. So women now could vote and be elected for office. They could run for office.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So she was nominated by the Citizens Ticket, which was a political activist group at the time. And they asked her to be on the ballot and she agreed. And then John Dietrich is who ran against her. And his sole purpose of running against her was there was no way a woman should be a mayor. So that's why he ran.
Of course.
Just to run against her. And he was heavily encouraged to do that by others in the community who felt the same way. But
God forbid.
Yeah. So she still won 36 to 22. So
wow.
Yeah, still a pretty good win. Solid win. So she took office in 1913 because the election was in 1912. And she went to work she got a fire department in place. Oh. She got rid of the city attorney and did it herself. Just consulted with Astoria's city mayor because she was actually elected in Warrenton, which had just become a town 8 years prior. So
okay,
they didn't have a lot of infrastructure.
It's where Costco is.
It is where Costco. Eight miles from Astoria. She was well known in Astoria as well. They were very close. That's where she was postmaster. She was a school teacher. She was very involved in both communities. They kind of ran into each other there.
Yeah, she sounds very well rounded.
Yeah,
and probably well qualified for the job too. Yes. She was a postmaster.
Yeah, jeez. She did lots of things. Oh, she was the police of chief during her. Nope, she.
The police chief?
She was the chief of police while she was mayor as well because she was saving money.
So she was just putting on all the hats she could, like a hat on a hat on a hat.
Yep, she did it all because she wanted to save money. She said her community would never be in debt. If you couldn't pay the bill, you couldn't do it. So she was going to keep them out of debt. And she said that they were morally strong as well. But one of the things that really intrigued me is that she only ran one term. And she decided not to run for her second term because she felt that it just wasn't right for a woman to be mayor. I was like, huh? And she didn't want to discuss it. She said, I have good reason for my beliefs and I don't think it's right for a woman to be mayor. So she gave that up. Continued throughout her life, though, to do community work. She was on every committee. She was either a secretary or vice president or chairman, but never head of anything. So as long as someone was above her and was a man, she was there. She was doing the work. Found it very intriguing. She lived that kind of life. She never got married. She never had children, and yet still felt that females should not be in office. And I just found that fascinating.
That's weird, but she was mayor.
Yeah. And she did a fantastic job. Everybody wanted, the whole town wanted her to run again.
So I wonder did she hold that belief even when she was running for mayor?
She did.
So what drove her to run for mayor?
They asked her to. They nominated her. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And she did the work and she did a good job. Her mother voted for her. Her mother was 71 and voted for her for the very first time.
Wow.
The very first time she voted. I assume she voted for her. Articles never said that.
You would think.
They said that she voted for the very first time. So we'll just assume she voted for her daughter.
Yeah, that'd be a real dick move on her mom's part if she voted for that other guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, her mother, by the way, was a survivor of the Whitman massacres in the 1800s.
What's the Whitman massacres?
Oh, that's a whole nother rabbit hole, Shay. We'll have to get on that. It's Native American settlers. There was a massacre in Whitman.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the Northwest. Another rabbit hole.
Okay. All right, hold on. I'm going to make a note. Oh, jeez.
Now we know how to make that dong sound.
I know, exactly.
We can do that every time we hit a point. During her time as mayor and postmaster and city attorney and police chief, she was also a school clerk for the schools.
Did she ever sleep, this lady?
I know, right?
Did she have children?
No children, never married.
Okay.
Very much behaves and lives a life of a woman fighting for women's rights. I don't need no man. I'm not going to follow that path, but honestly didn't believe it. And at that time, how do you get to be mayor and head of all sorts of things and have all these high-level jobs as a woman at that time when you don't really believe in that?
Yeah, that's interesting. That makes me wonder, was that really her conviction, or did just things happen to her in her experiences that kind of squashed her down a little bit?
Right. One of the reasons I went on this rabbit hole is I was trying to find out, someone threaten her?
Yeah.
Something happened? There's nothing. I've been to the University of Oregon, has this great website, includes lots of old newspapers like Microfiche.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's kind of cool website they have there. You can look at all these articles, probably anything you want in history. So found lots of that, lots of articles about, here's the interesting thing. Something that hasn't changed in our media is out of all the articles at the same time, it was very much different information. Some of it was, the theme was the same. She's elected the mayor. mayor. She's the first female mayor. The vote count was always right, but how she was doing would be different, or maybe the details about how she got elected, or why she didn't want to run again. They kind of, you could see they tweaked it themselves. The theme was there, but they'd tweak it a little bit. So
interesting.
Yeah.
I'm interested. How old was she when she became mayor?
51 when she took office.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess if she was a postmaster and a school this and other.
She was a daughter of the Rebeccas. She was the head of that organization. It was a civil.
Oh, one of the Civil War.
It was a community activist group.
Okay. Oh, yeah. They were attached to, was it the Masonic Lodge?
Yes.
Okay.
But the
that's
females.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Because the females can't be Masons.
Yes.
That's right. You can't hear me roll my eyes.
I roll. She was also against prohibition, which I thought was interesting for someone who had some more traditional beliefs.
Sure.
She felt like her town managed alcohol well and wasn't causing problems. And so she didn't have any need to regulate it.
Interesting.
And she was part of the American Red Cross. She was the secretary of the branch in her area. She was replaced by George Schmitz. He ran and won the election after her, and she was his assistant. She helped him advocate for a highway. It went from Portland to Warrenton.
Oh, wow.
She did all of this work behind the scenes for a man, but would not stay in office, would not hold that mayor.
She only did it that one time because the people asked her to do it.
Yep.
Basically.
That is absolutely
Wow.
it.
That's amazing. Sounds like she did a lot even behind the scenes.
Yes.
Sounds like an amazing character.
She did. And her dad was actually a lighthouse master in Cape Disappointment.
Okay.
Yes. And he unfortunately watched a shipwreck on the bar there, that sandbar.
And said that's disappointing.
Yeah, that's how it got named. No. Good one. Dun-dun-dun.
There we go.
There it is. Exactly. Yeah. So, but it was a disappointment for him because he watched the ship sink, people trying to swim away.
Ooh.
He had no rescue boat. So basically, the lighthouse was there to see people sink. I don't know.
Well,
they didn't have any rescue
they're there
equipment.
to warn people away from the rocks.
Right. But he couldn't rescue them.
So
he was
okay.
That was pretty devastating for him. And so he was moving away from that. But this is where Clara gets some of her ability to maneuver through the political world, because her father believed that politics should be at the dinner table, and they discussed a lot of politics.
Oh, wow.
Again, fascinating that she just still believed women should not be in office.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is the times that you're in. Mm-hmm. So you're raised to believe that as a woman, that even though you are smart and capable, that you could never actually do the things a man could do. So
yeah.
I mean, that still kind of continues today.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not going to go down that road.
100 years later.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I know I was a little afraid to bring a political topic right out of the gate, but because we agreed not to do politics.
Yeah.
But we're not really talking politics.
Right. I mean, it's 1911 or whatever. So, well, very cool. I love to hear that Astoria has such a strong woman.
They do.
In their history.
Yes. The suffragettes were there early in the 1900s. They fought and won the right to vote in 1912. She ran for office. Her mother voted for her mere months after it was approved.
Wow. So it's like, we're riding this high, baby.
Yep.
Yeah. That's so cool.
It was fascinating.
Yeah. That's a really interesting little tidbit. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, you can almost still feel Clara there, and not necessarily just in Astoria, but that historic town, those homes, those buildings, they all carry that time period. When you look at them, you can feel it. And so when I started seeing her picture and reading about her, I could picture her in the streets of the towns and carrying on with the residents.
Sure.
Yeah. There was a parade and a celebration for her in Astoria for winning mayor of the next town over, Warrenton.
Oh, that's so
cool.
They
praised her because she was popular there as well.
Did you actually find any pictures of her?
Oh, yeah. Lots of pictures. We can put them on our website.
Yeah.
We'll
post them. Yeah. We'll post them on Instagram. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that you were able to find some cool stuff about Astoria and that you liked it. We're definitely going to have to go back there and stay.
Oh, definitely.
One of these days. We'll stay in the Elliott Hotel.
Yeah.
It's a cool old hotel.
Is so much history there. A lot of haunted places.
Yeah.
So we could definitely find a lot of good topics there for sure.
Like that. And some good breweries too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think we mentioned before, Fort George Brewing is solid. They do have distribution in Washington and probably Idaho too, I would imagine. But they have really solid beers. And every spring they do, it's always on Valentine's Day weekend, they do this beer festival festival called the Festival of the Dark Arts. And it's based around dark beers. So your stouts and porters and Belgian dark strongs and stuff like that. And in the festival, not only do they have these amazing, delicious beers from them and other breweries around there, they also have all sorts of different entertainment and performances like tarot cards, and like there's tattoo artists and fire dancers and all those kind of things that are considered a little bit darker. And it's really just an amazing event if you guys can ever make it out there on Valentine's Day weekend. The weather's usually total shit.
Yeah.
But that's part of it, dark,
Makes sense.
gloomy. You go inside, you drink a big, heavy beer. Yeah, it's really, really fun. We started going to it, me and my husband, back when they first started it, and tickets were only $25. And it was only in one building. And now I think it's morphed to like tickets are like $75. And it has like a whole city block thing, but it's really cool. And I know in Astoria too, in the summertime, I've been there. They do an art walk on a certain day of...
It's very much a town that celebrates arts and music.
Mm-hmm.
It's very into their arts, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got several galleries. They've got lots of great little restaurants. Like I said, there's several breweries there. Rogue Brewing has a location there. It's out further, a little bit further out in one of the old canneries. And that place is really cool because you can go out there and you can sit, and the sea lions are all lined up on like a pier nearby. So while you're eating, you hear them going, art, 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 art. Now, the only problem with the sea lions, they bring their smell.
Yeah. I was going to say, that has to stink. They
stink. It stinks terribly, but they are cool to see because they're huge. They're kind of magnificent. And Rogue Brewing, not only do they have great beer, but they have great fish and chips. And then...
Why didn't we stop there? Oh, because
it was 9 a.m.
Yeah. Right. That.
We'll have to go back. Also, they have Bowie Brewing, and that's down kind of on the boardwalk. And this was so cool. The first time I went into Bowie Brewing, so it's in one of the old canneries. So it's actually on piers over the water, over the river. And in their lobby there of Bowie Brewing, there's this big plexiglass square in the floor.
Plexiglass.
Yeah, in the floor. And I looked down, and the reason they have that there is because underneath that boardwalk there is this platform, and this huge bull sea lion is laying there.
Oh my goodness.
So you are standing right above him, maybe 8 feet from him.
Right on top.
I may have been a little tipsy, but I got on my hands and knees in the middle of this building and just stared at him, and I might have cried a little bit because I've never been so close to such a huge, massive piece of flesh. I mean, he was a big boy.
Yeah. They are.
It was really, really cool. So Astoria is definitely a good place to go spend a little weekend. I wouldn't say it's a super great place for little kids. There's not a whole lot that would really entertain them. There's a couple of museums there, but they're all like maritime museums, which I'm an adult and that's boring. I can't imagine that's very much fun for a kid unless you have a kid who's really into boats. I think there's a Oregon Film Museum there. There is
the City Hall has the film museum right above it.
Yeah. There's a mansion there. Did you run into that one at all?
There's actually several mansions
that
there.
You can go through.
In my rabbit hole, I did not.
No. I can't remember the name of it. It's not the Pittock Mansion. That's Portland. It's the Flavel House Museum. Okay. The Flavel House Museum. So it's one of those cool old Victorians, and it's full of old furniture and art, and it's actually a fun little walkthrough. So that's definitely a fun little stop. And lots of good restaurants. There's a distillery too. Like, I like Astoria.
Oh, it was a great time. Keith and I are going to take a road trip down there so I can show them some of the stuff.
Yeah. Stay at the Elliott Hotel, or there's the Riverwalk Inn and Suites. That one's okay. But the Elliott Hotel is really, really nice. And it's right in the middle of town, and it's got a lot of history, and it has a really cool rooftop deck that has plexiglass, so you can sit up there even when the wind's blowing.
Oh, nice.
Which is nice.
But
yeah.
That's because that's often.
Yeah, it's often.
It was blowing the whole time we were there and cold.
Yeah. Yeah, don't go expecting the weather to be nice ever. If you are there and the weather is nice, consider yourself really lucky, because most of the time it's going to be either cloudy and gray or raining. And that's it. I really, really found that fascinating, that one of the first female mayors in the United States was from Oregon. I mean, Oregon is so ahead of the times on so many things. It's cool to find out that has been going on, for forever.
She was a female mayor before most states, and definitely the federal government allowed women to even vote, let alone run for office.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. I love that.
It was it was an intriguing rabbit hole. It wasn't what I expected when I started. And so it was just really fascinating to read through the history and go back in time to that era. I loved Astoria. I'm definitely going back. And for our listeners, hey, if you go to Astoria and you see go to our Instagram, Rainy Day Rabbit Holes Pod, and post your pictures. Show us what you got.
Yeah, you can just send us a DM with a picture and we'll post your picture for you if you give us that permission.
We'll put this up with her picture and an attachment, a few pictures that I found through the rabbit hole and comment away.
Yeah. And all of our sources will be on our website, which is rainydayrabbitholes.com. So we have a blog on there that I'm just going to post for each episode. I'll post the sources in there. And then if you want to see pictures from our road trip and then also things that we've discovered down our rabbit hole, go to our Instagram, which is Rainy Day Rabbit Holes Pod. And then if you want to email lighthouse pictures to Jody, you can email her at jody@rainydayrabbitholes.com.
Or you can email shay@rainydayrabbitholes.com.
Yeah, you can email me pictures of, I like the Victorian houses. And I also like pictures of old-timey lumberjacks. They kind of get me hot. So you can email me old-timey lumberjack pictures. Yeah, I really like suspenders.
Suspenders of the beard.
And a beard. And then maybe some sock suspenders. Ooh, baby. Ooh, baby.
What about the belly? The belly got to be there or no belly?
I think old-timey lumberjacks didn't have much bellies. They were working too hard. And
it's the pictures. I just see them, in my head. I'm picturing it.
No, you're picturing.
Oh, my God. Delete that.
All right, guys. So thank you for joining us for our rabbit hole on Astoria. And make sure to subscribe on Spotify or Amazon Music or Google Podcasts or CastBox or wherever you get your podcasts. I use Player FM personally. If I can't find it on Player FM, I go to Spotify, and it is on Player FM now. Yeah, join us next time where we will be recapping our day 2 of our Rainy Day Rabbit Holes road trip, which was
prehistoric gardens and a dumpster fire.
Exactly. Yeah. It was fun-ish at times.
We learned a lot.
We did. Yeah. Well, we will see you guys next time. Thank you for all your support and see you down the rabbit hole.